Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Katie, and today we'll be creating some gorgeous botanical inspired decor. You guys won't believe how amazingly everything turned out, despite how simple these projects are. And I'll be using my Cricut Joy today for these projects, and this video is sponsored by Cricut, so I want to say a big thank you to them and to you guys for supporting my channel. To make these stunning floating frames, I first picked up a pack of 2 of these gold frames. They open up so that you could press real flowers inside if you wanted to, and they also come with a chain so that you can hang them up. Instead of using real flowers, I wanted to paint some simple florals directly onto the frame. In Design Space, I opened a new project, then searched in images for flowers. Once I found some that I liked, I added them to my project and then resized them based on the measurements of my frame. To make this into a stencil, I added a square shape on top of the flower, then resized it so it fit just perfectly over top. Then I selected both images by dragging my mouse over them and letting go, and then I hit the slice button. Now I can pull away the layers and I have my stencil. Now I'm ready to make it, so Design Space asks if I'll be using a mat, and for the first one I won't be using a cutting mat because the Joy lets you use smart materials, so I'll select no mat, and then I'll choose the material that I will be using, which is removable vinyl. It prompts me to load my materials into the machine, and now I can hit go, and it's literally as simple as that. Once it's finished cutting, I weeded the excess vinyl, which is my favorite part, so satisfying, and now I can go ahead and start planning out my next image that I want to use. I followed the same exact process as before, except this time I'm using a small piece of vinyl, so I will be using a cutting mat, and I'll select that option this time around. I cut a piece of transfer tape big enough to cover my stencil and smoothed it out on top of the flower. Next, I removed the vinyl backing and stuck the stencil and transfer tape onto the frame. Now all that's left to do is remove the transfer tape and we're ready to paint. Whenever I'm painting with a stencil, I prefer to use a sponge brush and just dab it with a small amount of paint because you can always build up the color easily, but you don't want to use too much paint or you risk it bleeding underneath the stencil. I usually let the paint dry for just a minute or two, then I carefully peel away the stencil and voila! I completed this frame with one more flower and then a simple leaf using whatever colors made me happy. This project is so easy and I find it to be absolutely beautiful. For the second frame, I wanted to make a simpler companion piece to the first, so I just found a fern image and I created a stencil just like before. After cutting it, I applied some transfer tape and painted it the same green color that I used for the stems of the flowers. Now I can display these either on a side table, a nightstand, or hang them on the wall, and this is one of my new favorite pieces in our home. I really wanted to try making some simple paper leaves, but dress them up a bit into a bouquet. So in Design Space, I searched in images for a leaf shape and I found one that was the perfect shape I was looking for. This leaf has a couple of layers, so I selected the whole thing, then hit the weld button. And this is going to tell the machine to make it one single cut. I resized it a bit and then I duplicated this shape 8 times. Then I hit make it. This time I will be cutting on a mat, and I need to change the mat size to the longer mat. Now you can see that 4 leaves will fit on one mat, so I will cut the first 4, then reload it for the next 4. I cut this dark orange cardstock down to size so that it will fit perfectly onto my cutting mat. Then I loaded it into my machine and hit go. This is such a simple design and shape that it cut all of them out in just a few seconds. To achieve the look I'm going for, I folded each leaf just slightly so that it's bent right down the middle. Next, I grabbed some thin copper jewelry wire and attached it to the center line of the leaf using hot glue. I repeated this step for my first 4 leaves, using pieces of wire that were about 8 inches long. Then I grabbed 2 of them and started to twist the wires together to join them. I repeated this step with all 4 leaves until they were twisted together, and I adjusted them a bit to make sure that they were all facing the same direction. I repeated this whole process with the next 4 leaves using longer pieces of wire this time. I wanted to be able to create different levels when I display these, so that's why I went with 2 different lengths. Once again, I twisted these together and adjusted them until I was happy. Now I can add them to a vase, and I think that this color adds such an interesting contrast to my typical greens and neutrals. Lastly, since summer is almost here, I had to create a throw pillow for our deck. I knew right away that I wanted to use a monstera leaf design, so I searched for that in images and found the perfect one. It comes with 3 monstera leaves in different sizes. This has multiple layers, so I did the same trick of selecting all of them, then hitting the weld button so that there will only be 1 cut. I resized them so that I could fit 6 leaves on 1 sheet, and then I hit Make It. Whenever you're working with infusible ink like I am for this pillow, always remember to mirror your image so that it won't be backwards when you transfer it. I also selected infusible ink transfer sheets for my material. I took out 1 sheet and added it to my cutting mat, then smoothed it down with this cloth so that I didn't get the oils from my fingers on it. I hit go in Design Space and it cut out all of my leaves. I used 2 sheets for a total of 12 leaves. I'll be using my Easy Press 2 for this project, so I laid out my mat and the Cricut blank pillow cover that's made to be used with infusible ink. I gave it a good lint roll to make sure that no pieces of lint or hair would be on it. Then I slid a couple of pieces of white cardstock inside to protect the other side of the pillow cover. I placed a piece of butcher paper over the cover, then preheated the surface using my Easy Press 2. Now for the fun part, which is laying out the leaves, you want to lay them ink side down, and I just went ahead with a random pattern, trying to space them out evenly, but laying them at all different angles. Then I added a piece of butcher paper and set my Easy Press on top, and I set it for 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 seconds. This is my favorite part, pulling away the backing to reveal this incredibly vibrant image underneath. I love it so much. To get the outer edges that I didn't initially cover, I just adjusted my mat and did these areas one by one, being careful not to set my Easy Press over any of the completed images. And now this design is part of the fabric, it's washable, and it won't peel, and it's definitely my new favorite summer pillow. As always, let me know in the comments down below which one of these projects was your favorite. For me, it's a tie between the frames and the pillow, but I'd love to hear what you think. All of the materials that I used today will be linked down below in the description box. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe if you are not already, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video.